Welcome guys, numbers of the ULTRAKILL. So today we're going to be ranking ULTRAKILL's weapons, or making a tier list of an ULTRAKILL weapon, every weapon in the game. And this style video is very different compared to the usual style where I do live commentary while playing games. I mean ULTRAKILL specifically. So it's a bit awkward and I'm kind of new to this. So hopefully most of my opinions and most of my rankings don't offend a lot of you, because a lot of my rankings are going to be either pretty biased or pretty personal opinions. Also, shout out to Albert the Crawfish, who commented on my previous short where I punched Sisyphus to death because I felt a bit bored, and he requested to make ask me to make a ranking of every ULTRAKILL weapon. And the thing is, the thing about this tier list is going to be mostly focusing on both the base game, but majority of times I'm focusing on the cyber grind because I play mostly on the cyber grind now, so usually I'll be focusing majority of times on the cyber grind, but I will be mentioning the campaign here and there. Anyhow, I'm not gonna try to bore you guys out. We're gonna go straight to the video, so let's start. And starting off with the first weapon, which is the standard piercer. It goes to F tier, as I put right here before I even say it. Amazing, by the way. Anyhow, so basically the reason why I'm putting the standard piercer in F tier is mainly because it's not as strong compared to the other weapons, and even after the buffs, I feel like it's a strong F tier. Arguably it could be even in D tier. It shouldn't be F tier in my opinion, but we need somebody in F tier, and the standard piercer is the only gun I can think of that could be in F tier. Now moving on to the next gun, which is gonna be the Alt Piercer. The reason why I'm putting in D tier is because it is a slight upgrade from the normal default piercer, but I would say it's slightly better because I'm a bit biased because I use it more often and I'm so used to the standard piercer being very weak. But the Alt Piercer has its perks, like not needing any weakness spots, having a faster charge time, although having a slightly slower recharge time, and having a much more higher base damage, which kind of gets negated by the fact that this thing can do weakness damage now and do split shots. But also the fact that it doesn't need heads to hit, and also like one coin, if you shoot it with like only one singular coin, it somewhat does more damage than this gun, so that is a minor benefit from it. So I guess that's really about it. I guess it's a very decent D tier, but it's not like middle of D tier. It's more like a low D tier if I'm being honest. Anyhow, moving on, I'm gonna be straightforward. Marksman, normal Marksman, straight up ULTRAKILL tier. Everybody can agree this. Coins are overpowered. It's basically the mascot of ULTRAKILL at this point, and we can't deny this weapon is straight up golded and straight up overpowered in terms of like how it's used, and especially in cyber grind, coins are very important in cyber grind to create conduction, to create like rail coins, to do this chip damage and everything. It's a very, very, very strong weapon. Anyhow, moving on, we're gonna move on to the Alt Marksman, which straight up it's just ULTRAKILL tier. A lot of people do say it's bad, but I'm gonna be very honest. It's still strong, like really strong. It could arguably be stronger than the standard Marksman in terms of like certain situations, but usually I would have the standard Marksman higher because it could do slightly higher, faster attack speed. But the Alt Marksman does have a perk having like it doesn't need weakness spots, same with this weapon, but it's still a very strong weapon in general. I'll be very honest, although it's slightly, just a slight tad bit, and mostly biasy, it's slightly weaker than the normal Marksman, but it's still a very strong one, and if you pair up with the normal piercer, it could be a very viable weapon. Now moving on to the standard revolver, or a sharpshooter, yes, I remember the name. And now, so the standard standard sharpshooter, I would put it below this D tier. This is very low D tier, but this weapon is pretty bad. The slow recharge doesn't justify the 3 ult shots you get, and I don't feel like this is as strong compared to its brethren, which I will talk about later, and it's not that good in my opinion. The slow recharge definitely holds it back. If it had like a slightly faster recharge, slightly faster charge of the spin, I will consider this pretty good C tier, but currently I say this weapon is not that strong. It's very weak. It does need a bit of a buff in my opinion. But that's majority is mostly coming from my opinion, which is very heavily biased. Don't take it for the grain of salt, by the way. And that's why it's in this D tier spot. Anyhow, moving on to the Sharpshooter. Yes, I'm so good at remembering things. And I think this one could go straight forward to B tier. And this weapon is strong, has a fast charge time, although it only has 1. But the fact that it can bounce and you could do specific combos with it, which is really strong. And also can, like, I forgot to mention this, but it could also like hit orbs. It could do many friendly fires with the orbs, which is really good. It does explosion orbs as well, like if you manage to hit one, which is an intercept, and that's really good. But the reason why this is so high is because I do prefer the faster charge time to wind up time for it to spin. That's why I put it much more higher compared to the standard Sharpshooter. The alt Sharpshooter deserves its place on the B spot because it's just really strong. If it gets a bit above, I could say A tier, but I could definitely say it could be C tier because it's a very okay-ish weapon. It's not that defining in my opinion in the cyber grind, but it's still very strong. And the amount of DPS it could do, I guess like probably like 10 damage, I guess. Pair up with the coins would be very deadly, but in these specific situations. But it's still very strong, and thus I will put it in B tier. Anyhow, moving on to the Pumpcharge Shotgun, which would be a very strong A tier, borderline S tier. It's a very strong weapon after the buff, and the core nukes and everything is really, the core nukes are really strong with the campaign, decent in the cyber grind. It's not really that strong in the cyber grind, but if it gains a buff, I would really consider it to be S tier. But for now, it's a very strong A tier. But there are techs from cyber grind where you use the Maurice or the government to create free nukes, which is really good, but that takes a lot of timing, which kinda doesn't make it S tier. But for now, it's a top 1 A tier in my opinion. Anyhow, next on the CE Jackhammer. CE Jackhammer's ultra kill tier. Like, this weapon is so overpowered in the cyber grind, but in the campaign, it's almost similar to the core eject, but that doesn't really like drag it down. But it doesn't matter because I don't really use the CE Jackhammer in the campaign anyways. I use it in the cyber grind, and I'm gonna be very honest, this thing is overpowered, straight up. Like, the amount of tech you can use with it is just amazing. And it's a really strong weapon. You should use it in cyber grind. It would definitely carry you and give you a decent amount of DPS, like straight up. And the fact that it could pair well with rocket riding is just really, really good and really strong. And that's why it's in ultra kill tier, because of its tech and its synergy with the rocket launcher. Anyhow, moving on to the Pumpcharge Shotgun, which I would say it's a very good B tier. It's alright, it's average. The overpump and overpump dash thing can one-shot more virtues, can deflect Maurice's projectiles. But overall, it's slightly an okay weapon. It does need a buff or two to contend with the Pumpcharge Jackhammer. But overall, it's still a very, very strong weapon, in my opinion. But it does need a buff to at least contend with its alternate form. But overall, it's just because it's pretty simple. It does do a decent amount of damage, but still, it's alright, in my opinion. Anyhow, moving on to the next one, which is the Pumpcharge Jackhammer. I'm gonna put it in S tier, straight up. This weapon is very strong, could output a lot of DPS, and this one will be my main yellow hit. Sometimes I do red hits by accident, but the pump cash things is really strong, and the amount of DPS you could do is very disgusting. And overall, the only reason why it's not in ultra kill tier is because of CE Jackhammer. This thing definitely needs a nerf, okay? Lucky that please nerf it. Anyhow, so I'm gonna talk about the Pumpcharge Jackhammer. It does a lot of damage. It could just straight up like freaking, it could like delete an enemy's health, and practically it's just really strong. It's definitely stronger than the normal pump charge. So the Pumpcharge Jackhammer deserves a spot in S tier, a very decent spot, I believe, hopefully. Anyhow, moving on. Anyhow, I'm gonna be straightforward with these two weapons, which is the Sword-on Shotgun and Sword-on Jackhammer. These two are very neck to neck, very similar, and these two go to C tier. These two could go to A or B tier, but after the nerf with the Sword-on and the chainsaw thing that can break after 30 hits, which is very needed by the way, because it encourages the fact that you need to swap weapons. But one of the main the second reason why it's also in C tier is also because of the weight increase, which I believe is kind of unnecessary, because like the bug was there, but I don't understand why Haki decided to add weight to it, which is pretty unnecessary, which kind of ruins a bit of the Sawblade traps I have for bosses, which does derank these guys from very strong A tier to somewhat B tier to C tier. So currently, because of these two nerfs, I put it in C tier. They're still strong. They're still really strong. They're very high C tier. They're borderline B tier, similar with the Core Jack and this guy. But these two really need some bit of buffs, I believe. And these two are very neck to neck. That's why I put these two very together, because there's nothing else. I mean, one of it does projectile boosting, the other one just does red hits. But that's really about it. Like, there's nothing else to say. They're both very similar. You don't need any like changes for the other two of them to be like at least competing with each and one another. But that's really about it. And they're pretty strong C tiers, so they belong in there. Anyhow, moving on to the Attractor Nailgun, which I would put in D tier in between these guys. Actually, no, I'm gonna put it above the alt piercer. The main reason why I'm putting in D tier is because it's not too strong. I don't think so. I'm pretty biased against this because this weapon is kind of weak, but I would say it's mainly because I'm kind of bad at it. If someone is really good at it, could teach me about it. And you could definitely disagree with the placement here, because I do think this is a bit of a biased placement. But the main reason why I'm putting it here, one, because I'm biased, and two, because, well, I don't think this weapon is very strong in the Cybergrind. The nail production it has is very weak, and the magnets itself is very strong for conduction, but for like setting up, it's not that strong because it has this very small point compared to the Sawblade where it does an orbiting, which makes it really strong and really good for setup. But this is kind of bad for setups, but I guess you could say it's also decent for early game. But like after you gain every weapon, this one kind of gets obsoleted or outclassed severely by its other variants. Anyhow, moving on to the next one, which I did talk about a bit, which is the Sawblade Attractor Sawblade, which I'm gonna put it in a very decent B tier. The reason why is because it's very good for setup. It could be very strong, and it's a Sawblade. It does a lot of damage. But what holds it back is the fact that just like the Attractor Nailgun, its saw output is okay. I'd say it's one of the better ones if you discount the Attractor Sawblade. But as the same thing as Attractor Nailgun, it has magnets, it can orbit, it has a very strong setup, it could do a lot of damage to bosses, not that much though, but it does a lot, and it could charge up the Overheat Nailgun and Sawblade similar with this. But I guess just like the Nailgun, it's not really that strong on its own. But one of the main reasons why I put it really high up here is because it could pair well with the Jumpstarts as well. The synergy between these two is very needed compared to this. You would need another, I would say having another Sawblade launcher with this guy is very needed. I will get into it sooner or later, but generally the major reason why it's here is because its synergy with conduction is very strong. And now moving on to the Overheat Nailgun, this one straight up goes to ULTRAKILL tier. This thing does so much burst damage. It's so good in the Cybergrind. It's kind of a contender with the Overheat Sawblade, but it's very strong. it's simply overpowered. I mean, not really that overpowered, but still, it's a very good weapon. It could like burn enemies. It could help you with your conduction. It has a god-like amount of nail production, and you could and if you could do like a really good combo, it could do a lot of damage. It could give you a lot of nails to do conduction damage as well, and that's why it's in this tier. It's a very strong weapon, so there's nothing much I could say. It's just really overpowered. Anyhow, moving on to the next weapon, which is the Overheat Sawblade. This one goes in the okay-ish here. It is slightly behind the normal Sawblade because this Sawblade can pair well with conduction. Well, this one is okay, I guess. The only saving grace of this is the fact it has an Overheat Sawblade, which is very good in the campaign. Very decent, could compare with the Overheat Nailgun, but in the Cybergrind is totally hot garbage. It's okay in the starting levels, but it's pretty not that notable in the higher levels, which this gun would be very needed. But this Overheat Sawblade, it's okay at best. It's not too strong, not too bad, so I'm putting it in B tier. Anyhow, moving on to the next weapon, which is the Jumpstart Nailgun. This one is a very strong S tier. On its own, it could do it could do a radius, big radius conduction, but its nail production is okay at best, I guess. Not sure about the community, but it's okay compared to the Overheat Nailgun. It's not that strong, but the conduction does make it its saving grace, I believe. But it's very strong in the campaign, but it's on a similar level to its alt self in the Cybergrind, which I will be talking right now because I don't want to edit this in, because these two are similar levels. It's just that this weapon is not as good in the campaign, but it does slightly edges out in the Cybergrind because it could just combine with the normal Sawblade to create massive conduction damage, mixed with the Overheat Nailgun, and you have a very strong conduction setup. Anyhow, moving on to the next gun, which is the normal railgun, the blue railgun, which straight up goes to ULTRAKILL tiers above the, I think it's below here, because it's not as strong as these two weapons, but it could combo well with the Marksman. It could do conduction, it does infinite pierce, it's really strong, and the fact it could also do conduction is very important, I would say. So that's why it's an ULTRAKILL tier. But also there's also like the fact you can combo it with the alt piercer, so that's also one thing. It's very strong in the campaign. It's extremely powerful in the Cybergrind, especially in the later levels or later waves where you have like way more enemies in conduction with, and pair it off with the Overheat Nailgun, you just have a very good conduction setup, similar with a ADA, not alt Sawblade, alt Attractor Sawblade, alt Jumpstart, and normal Attractor. You would have a very strong setup, strong conduction setup. Pair up with the normal railgun, you just have a really strong conduction setup as well. Moving on to the next weapon, which is the Malicous Railgun, which would go to C tier. Actually, no, it will be above these two because it does an instantaneous red explosion. It could kill soldiers, which is a good new addition. It could do a core nuke, which is amazing. But the reason why it's a C tier is because compared to the other two railguns, it's slightly a bit bad, but it's not that bad. It's still a decent weapon, but I would say it's a okay-ish weapon. It does slightly need a buff, maybe a bigger radius or more damage, but it does its job well. It deserves it. It's a very strong C tier, so that's why it's in C tier. Malicous Railgun cannon, strong, decent, powerful, but not really notable in the Cybergrind. It's very good in the campaign, so it's a top 1 C tier. Moving on to the next weapon, which doesn't need introduction. It's the It's the Freezeframe Rocketlauncher. It's the best weapon in the game. It's the best movement weapon in the game behind the Whiplash. It's super really good in not only the campaign but also in the cyber grind. It's a okay-ish setup weapon, but its main key thing is rocket riding, which is really strong. Use it often in cyber grind, and the fact it could pair out well with the CE Jackhammer. It's pretty much a very strong weapon. It deserves a spot in Ultrakill tier. Moving on to the next weapon, which would be slightly controversial, and it's gonna be the Screwdriver Railgun, which would go to A tier. It doesn't need any introduction. It could heal you like in a big radius. It could keep your style up. It just does a lot of damage, and you can punch into another enemy. And it's just strong overall, especially in the cyber grind, but in the campaign it's okay-ish, I guess. It's good against bosses if you're new, but in my opinion it's not that strong compared to the normal railgun. It's slightly stronger than this, but the reason why I put it in C tier is because I can't really put it in B tier because I don't think it kind of deserves in B tier for the Malicous Railgun. It's a bit of bias currently. Back then I would have put it in B tier because I use shotguns. But the Sawblade Screwdriver Railgun, really decent, really strong, really decent A tier, and that's why it belongs there. Now moving on to the next weapon, which is the SRS cannon, which would go to C tier. Sadly enough, this weapon is an okay-ish weapon in my opinion. It's not too strong, not too bad. Actually, no, you know what, I'm gonna put it in B tier because it's middle of the line, if you understand what I mean. It's okay, but it's not okay. It could one-shot Cerberuses, it could one-shot Virtues, it could one-shot Sentries, unless they're Radiant, all three of them, I think. And it could also one-shot Providences, which is really good in cyber grind. And that's why I put it in B tier because I kind of forgot about the Providences. And like, that's why it's in B tier. It's a decent weapon, okay, but not too bad, not too good. It's an okay-ish weapon. Next up, which would be the Firestarter Rocketlauncher, which will go to Ultrakill tier. Which back then I did say it's a pretty bad weapon, but nowadays after having it on my kit and using it more often in my cyber grind, as you can see in my recent videos, I would say this is a really strong weapon. It could do a lot of chip damage. It could kill a lot of the fodder enemy, and it's just a really good weapon. And pair it up with the Attractor Nailgun, the Overheat Nailgun, you could do a lot of damage, and it does extra damage to the Insurrectionists, which takes more damage than the fire damage, even though they're immune to the sand in Greed for some apparent reason. I don't know why they take extra fire damage, even though they're immune to the hot gold in Greed, but we don't talk about that. Maybe they have like very impeccable feet, I guess. And also, it's a very strong weapon, does strong chip damage, okay in the normal campaign, OP in the cyber grind, but that's really the reason why it's in very low in the Ultrakill tier, because it's not that good in the campaign, but it does make it up for the fact that it's super duper strong in the cyber grind, especially in the higher waves. And to no one's surprise, the feedback goes to Ultrakill tier. I don't want to go too much in detail. This arm is really overpowered. It could parry, which gives you free heals, free dashes, although it doesn't heal off from hard damage, but it's still a very strong one. And the fact that it could do friendly fire, it could do like mini explosions from parrying orbs, projectiles, is very important and very good. And it's not only strong in the campaign, but also just strong in the cyber grind. It's just strong in both sides in general. And without the parry mechanic, you would be suffering an Ultrakill. Now moving on, which will be the Whiplash, which I'll put in Ultrakill tier. This is because this is the the best movement mechanic. Even with the hard damage thing it has, it's still a really good arm. It's still really good, and the fact that with the Providence you can also get a free heal in general, which is very pivotal in cyber grind. And it's also really strong in cyber grind because you would be going around the area, which is why the rocket launcher is also really good. But also the fact it could also pair up with the rocket launcher, and with the buff, the fact you can press spacebar and ride this rocket launcher in any direction is really good. So that's why in Ultra Kill tier, that's why it's in Ultra Kill tier. No arguments from me or from any other community or any other Ultra Kill player, I guess. Moving on to the next arm, which I accidentally placed on F tier. It's not going to go F tier. It's going to go straight to S tier, which would be a very strong S tier. And the thing, wait, wrong side. Sorry. Anyway, the reason why I'm putting Knuckblaster here behind this Jackhammer is mainly because it can deflect bullets, deflect projectiles, do friendly fire. It could also break other men's shield, which the Jackhammer can do. It could do massive amount of damage. Not only that, it could also just straight up like squash the living shit out of a schism, which is my favorite thing to do in the Cybergun because they're cockroaches. It's very strong in the campaign and in the Cybergun. The only reason why it's not an Ultra Kill tier is mainly because it's massive cooldown, and I believe that back then the arm didn't have like but both arms had like separate cooldowns. I think I'm not sure. Like I'm not really into the Ultra Kill. I'm kind of new to the game, but yeah. But currently, from what I've heard, it did get a bit of nerf, I believe. So that's why in S tier, if it was like slightly, if it had like separate cooldown, I think I could put it in Ultra Kill tier. But for now, it's a very strong S tier, in my opinion. The fact that it could do all of that is amazing. So yeah. Anyhow, that's about it for the ranking and the tier list. And I didn't explain every weapon that well, I believe, but I think I did a pretty good job, in my opinion. I might regret this in the future, but that's future Ichi to decide. Anyhow, so I guess that's about it for the video. I know this is a very different content, but I've been slightly wanting to make a ranking again because I did make one, but I did a pretty terrible job. So I did want to do a tier list thing, but the idea was completely different compared to this, by the way. But also, again, shout out to Albert the Crawfish for suggesting this video. Anyhow, that's about it for this video. Hopefully this ranking the rankings and its reasoning is good enough. And as you can tell, I also don't have a script, but that doesn't matter because I have ADHD and I can talk about anything, but also I can talk about anything, which I can get offhanded. Anyhow, I don't want to bore you anymore. So that's about the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, like and subscribe. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.